You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. And this show is about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have shows and topics.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Monday, Tuesday,
Happy days.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Happy days.
Friday, whatever.
Happy days.
What a day. Na, 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 na.
I love you.
I love you too.
Best known as the mom from Happy Days, and she is a delightful 89-year young Marion Ross to my studio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Dr. Marissa, this is such a treat for me.
Oh.
My goodness, you're a wonderment.
Which is exactly the kind of guest that I like. Those who have gone through life, good and bad, and then taken those experiences to alchemize them into the person they are now and doing good on the planet. I'd like you to welcome Corey Feldman.
If you're grateful for it and you say right away, thank you, God. Oh, my God, it's so beautiful. I'm so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then guess what? More good things will come to you.
Does this sound familiar at all? She's back again to mark my Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month show. Please welcome Fran Drescher. Hi, Fran.
On and supporting cancer schmance. I really appreciate it.
So what would you say are some of the biggest myths, Fran, that people have about cancer?
Well, I would say that they think that there's a cure for it.
Okay.
Instead of a cause for it.
This is the first call-in show when I get to be Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And people call in to get their life tires balanced and their critical thinking or their BS, their belief systems, smog checked. And today I am delighted to have Malie calling in from Birmingham, Alabama.
We could go 90 days and end up having terrible sex. And then you say, well, the relationship's not all about sex. Well, if I'm not getting great sex from you, then I'm going to get it from somebody else. Right?
That moose just got put on the table. And I see Josh and Jim.
I have to agree
You're
with Clyde.
both nodding. Ramon's sort of half nodding because his wife's listening. But
I understood what was going to happen if Muhammad Ali's youngest daughter, made public that I was going to become a boxer. So I wanted to make sure this was the path that I wanted to go down.
You are absolutely fabulous, beautiful inside and out. And I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award today.
Thank you.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Nah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. Or I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing
if we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on CNBC News, NBC News, and NBC Sports radio station, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, home to the Asian Oprah, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Podchaser, Spreaker, Rumble, and more. I am Dr. Marissa, your hashtag positively opinionated host producer, and I'm delighted to have you tuned in today. I see people already in studio. We've already gotten a finger. No, not that one. This one. And so happy that you are here. This is a show about hope and happiness. So if you've tuned in for gossip or scandal, you're in the wrong place. There's no K words here talked about at all. No Kanye talk. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. And so I have topics and guests to that end. I am so delighted to announce that this is my 585th consecutive week on the air. This is show podcast number 978. And thank you for proving that what people told me that a positive show would not last on the air. I'm so glad that you're wrong. But I'm very delighted. I get to spotlight. If you missed my show with Mrs. C from Happy Days, in fact, half the cast from Happy Days has been on the air. Go to my YouTube channel, free subscribe, and you will get access to that, as well as my red carpet interviews with Halle Berry, The Temptations, Quincy Jones, John Travolta, and more. And I love to find people and organizations that are balancing out the bad news out there, balancing out the problem chatter with some solution chatter. And I also love the way that I sort of, I let myself be open and less controlling than I was as a younger person, even though I'm ageless, to allow the power that creates the worlds to direct me to people who can give you another perspective on things. And today I am delighted to have Frank Vaughn with me in studio, who I met at a red carpet event on Sunday. Y'all know I was in Vegas for business, and then I drove all the way back speedily for the red carpet. Maya Ito, who was a guest last week on my Tempting Conversation series with Alon Carter, the daughter of the Temptations founder, Otis Williams. She and I were invited to this art gallery for an opening of their magazine. And in the hallway, there was a gentleman, and I just felt like I should stop. And he smiled, and I smiled, and one thing led to another, and he's here today. And we're going to get to know him. I will not give him a formal bio right now, because we're going to go to breakfast. Y'all know we start the show this last year. I thought I would teach you or discipline you into weight training first thing in the morning so that you're looking at what's good in life. So I've advocated or abdicated Frank to do that with me this morning, having breakfast with Dr. Marissa. First, please welcome to my studio, Frank Vaughn. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you.
We're going to jump right in. What are you grateful for? As short and specific as possible. You can't say friends and family, way too general. So I will give you an idea. I am grateful for big windows to catch the air when it's starting to get hot outside.
Oh, I love that. I'm grateful for the trees that actually cleans the air for us to breathe.
I'm grateful that the planets did not crash into each other last night so that we have another day to laugh.
I'm grateful that the sun continues to shine on someone, humanity, all the time around the earth.
Beautiful. I'm grateful that I get to drive. I love driving, and that I have the means to zip around in my little Mazda Miata convertible. Go ahead.
I am grateful for opportunity and this chance to actually sit down with you.
And I am grateful that I listen to a friendly universe that's always guiding me to greater and greater good.
Yeah.
Last one.
Last one. I'm grateful for humanity and the joy that we bring to each other.
Beautiful. We're going to go to the bottom of the bun, which is appreciation. And this is a little different than gratitude. I define it as, what do we like about ourselves? We have generations of people walking around, especially now, with antenna on, looking for who likes me, who approves of me. Literally, with social media and the likes, I do not buy numbers. I don't even pay attention to numbers because they can be bought. And I just know that the most important to a person to approve of me is me. And so I weight train you in the morning to find things that you like about yourself. Mm-hmm. That way you're less rocked by criticism. You're less swayed by compliments. Mm-hmm. So in the end, it's so important, because if you can't approve of yourself, how the fork do you expect other people to approve of you? So I appreciate that I have a way with words, and for better, for worse. What do you appreciate about yourself, Frank?
The main thing that I appreciate about myself, I would say, with my experience and everything that I've been through, is my patience and humbleness. It carries me because it allows me to think and make better choices. It allows me not to take anything too personal. And it allows me to kind of just sit back and take a look at everyone else. I love the patience that I have.
Beautiful. You just hit all four. So I'm going to catch up with you. Patience, humble, awareness. And I love to hear that. Your camera's shaking just a little bit. I'll let you stabilize that on your end. I appreciate that I'm not as hard on myself as I used to be. I'm a recovering perfectionist. That's 3. And that I have no fear. I had someone, Michael Duvet, say to me, he's part of my financial family with WFG. And he said that I live, let's see if I can find the saying really quickly, because I love the way he said it. And this is definitely my, I don't have it. I was going to, I live as if I live as if I have no barriers to living.
Oh,
isn't that beautiful? Mm-hmm. That is so beautiful. So there you go. That's the top and the bottom of the gratitude sandwich. I promise you, if you do this every single morning for 28 consecutive days, your days will be amazing, and you didn't have to spend any money doing it. All righty. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on in the studio today,
This is Dr. Marissa. You are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the AM 1050, FM 106.5, the station that leaves no listener behind, home to the Asian Oprah. And you are seeing my very special guest this morning. His name is Frank Vaughn. And we're going to launch into his story, which captured me because normally when you meet someone and their opening words are, when I ask him how he's affiliated with the event, I was in prison. I believe he said for 20 years. And that first sentence, I went, okay. And I think that in my past, I would have said, nice to meet you. See you later. Because that is something that is not exactly what you expect to hear, nor do you necessarily want to continue the conversation because we're brought up thinking that people who have gone to prison are bad people, are criminals. You should fear them. You should avoid them. You should run. People don't change. I'm putting the moose on the table, if you've noticed. This is my Canadian version of elephant in the room. I don't feel those things now, but there may be some people listening, or some people who are listening who are wonderful in my tribe don't think like that, but they know people who think like that. And certainly there's a lot of stupid talk around, well, if you do the crime, you do the time. And, once a criminal, always a criminal. And once in the system, always in the system. And I have recently become very, very involved in my Satellite Sisters organization, Spirit Awakening, which takes kids in the juvenile system and uses art and music therapy with them. And Kim Kardashian has actually been very involved and supported her organization, which is why I don't say Kardashian talk anymore in the opening, if you're wondering. And when Frank then followed his prison story of he was in prison with art, and that piqued my interest, and so I invited him here. So let's go back to the beginning, because before I want people to hear the full story. So okay. I want to know what happened and how old you were and what was the crime and then what was the time and that whole progression, because I think it's so important that people can hear what I heard in Frank, which is hope and healing. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's start at the beginning. What was the crime and how old were you? Actually, let's go back. Where did you grow up and what was that like?
I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it was in the city. I loved the summers, loved the winters even more. And we moved to California when I was about 16, so in Fresno, California. So my growing up experience was pretty good. I have 7 siblings.
All right. And was it just you went from that to doing a crime, or was it a slow slide, or, kidnapping is not a, one day you wake up and I'm going to kidnap somebody. So
that's true. No, I had my growing up experience in my area, even though I grew up with 6 siblings, including myself, 7. It was a lot growing up, and I personally was one of the ones that was strong-headed, aside from my siblings, and I made the choice out of all my siblings to make the decisions that I made growing up. That kind of led me into a different direction, and my direction didn't start to a different direction until I was like 19, 20, when I started thinking that this was a way of life, meaning that the way that I perceive life, how I viewed life, not the way that I necessarily grew up, because I turned from those rules and that bringing that my grandmother and my mother and my uncle instilled upon us. And when I went to the streets and that knowledge, and I thought that this was better versus than what the streets was teaching me, that's the direction I went in. That actually led me to a lot of wrong decisions that I made, which led me to be incarcerated in my 20s.
So in your 20s, you started making you were brought up with the sense of right and wrong and what you should be doing, what you should be doing. I know it's hindsight, right? Armchair quarterback in hindsight. What would you say would have been one thing that may have led you to a different decision and following what you're going? Was there anything that, you know, I don't believe them? You said strong-headed, so maybe that's the answer, which is yeah, I know, fork you, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah. It was like that because growing up, I liked to bump my own head. I kind of wanted to create my own experience. And so I knew right from wrong, but I wanted to see what the opposite was like. And I always kind of just, if everybody was going one way, I personally choose to go the opposite way. So that was my frame of thinking and growing up and the way that I was raised, because they raised me one way, but I choose to go the opposite way.
Got it. And then just briefly, what was the crime?
The crime was kidnap robbery.
And how did that play out?
I was at a very stressful moment in my life. I was in my late 20s. At that time, I didn't have the social skills. I didn't have the knowledge that I have now or should have at that time in making the decisions when I come under stress, when I come under financial stress at the time. And that's what it was. And I figured that this was a way of life and trying to support my family. I went and committed a crime, but I made it worse because I committed a crime and I hurt more people at that time. Being that I didn't know that in retrospect at that time, it was all about me. It was all about, hey, I need to take care of what I need to take care of in a selfish way. And to me, this was right. And that's the reason why I made those choices, because I really felt that they were right.
Right. So at the time, you did what you thought you needed to do.
Correct.
Okay. And that landed you with a sentence of how many years?
That landed me with a sentence of double life plus 5 years.
Okay. So that's a pretty hefty sentence.
Yes, really.
And was it robbing a bank or something like that?
No, it was robbing a check cashing place. It was a check cashing place, and that I went in because I needed money, needed bills. There's no way to lessen the crime, to say, hey, I went in it in the sauce. I committed the crime. I hurt the individual that was in there, that caused a ripple effect throughout her family, throughout the business. So yeah, I went in, I check cashing place, and I held the check cashing place up, and I felt that I needed that money to support my cause.
Got it. And did you act alone?
I was alone, yes.
You were alone. Okay. And then the hostage was the woman in the check cashing
in the check cashing place. It was the employee in the check cashing place.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. And is she okay?
Yeah, she's okay. As far as physical wise, as far as mental wise, I'm pretty sure it was and emotional wise, very traumatic. It could be even traumatic to this day. Because that caused a ripple effect in how she become. I know that she was a parent, so I know that caused an effect in how she was raising her daughters, and that could cause an effect in how they was raised up. So yes, she was hurt mostly emotionally and mentally. I didn't hurt her physically. I didn't have a gun on me at all. It was no weapons. I went in there with a note. And so it was mostly verbal, and words really do hurt. And that brought in the fear of what me thinking that it was right. And that's how I believe that she's still hurt and her family's hurt to this day.
Have you tried to reach out to her?
No, being in the situation I'm in of freshly being out, as you are kind of restricted from contacting victims. During my time of incarceration, there was numerous letters that was written on behalf of her to her family, that was sent to Sacramento to be transferred to her. The reason why I say there was a number of letters that was written, because when I wrote one letter, I was in one place in my life, and then I felt a little more deeper in compassion, so I ended up writing another letter and writing another letter.
Okay. And I'm so glad that we're doing this, because I know this is going to get to her somehow. And I don't know about you, but I hear what people don't think happens in prison, which is there is true remorse. There is true regret. He is not making excuses. He is not excusing himself. He is very, I'm sorry, I'm speaking to you in third person, but I hear that, and that's why I was drawn for this story. And I say this, and I don't want you to miss it, folks. Anytime you hear anybody say that once a criminal, always a criminal, or there's no rehab, there's no hope, I want you to just rewind this past little section here, because that BS belief system is continuing to fuel a prison billion-dollar industry that is not helping our humankind, emphasis on kind. So sorry, I just had to take a moment with that particular message brought to you. Public service announcement. All right. So you go to prison for a gazillion years. I mean, that's the sentence. And you're in there. And take me through that process. I have a hunch about something, but I'll let you tell it first. So
when I first went in, I would say the first 5-6 years, I was still in that rebellious denial stage, and things were still happening around me, to the point to where I wasn't working on myself. I had
still blaming.
Yeah, the blaming everybody. It's not me. Everybody doesn't like me. It was a blame game for like the first 5 years that I was in prison. It caused a situational depression, which put me in a program called the in-house outpatient program, which allowed me to get the help that I was needed. But it was a very slow process. The help was there, but I wasn't contributing to the help of helping me. I lost audio.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, okay, I got it back now. I lost audio.
I'm muted. I was muted. Sorry.
Okay.
I was doing that because there's some background noise on this end. I apologize. So, what would you say was the turning point, or that it wasn't a switch? And I know it's a process. We all know healing is a process. But what began you to turn you from that blaming, shaming, depressing? I call depression anger internalized. So you take that outward and you start, beating yourself up, which then turns into some depression. So what was that turning point for you?
The turning point for me was, and I might get a little bit emotional in saying this, but
good, because I love when guests cry, because tears are the disinfectant that keep your heart soft, and it means you're speaking from the heart. So please do cry. I know that sounds horrible. I love to cry too. So go ahead.
Okay. So the turning point for me, I have 2 kids. I have a daughter. Her name is Shanice Isis Vaughn. My son, Darrell Trey Vaughn. And during the time of incarceration, when I first got incarcerated, he was 9, she was 3. I haven't seen them in 5-6 years. I was going through a divorce at the time, and my mom, my sister, brought my children to come and see me. They actually came from Arkansas, and they went to Fresno, brought my kids to see me. So during the visit, I'm sitting there with my daughter. You know, she's climbing on me. We're playing, and I'm playing with my son. It was a very enjoyable visit. At the end of the visit, she walks. I mean, I'm hugging everybody. We're the last one to leave the visiting room. And the way the visiting room is set up, all of the inmates on one side, all of the visitors on another side, and they go through this door. Well, all the visitors on this other side, the officer was standing there with the door cracked, speaking to another officer. And I'm waving at my daughter and my sister from way across the room. And my daughter wiggled out my sister's arms, and she's screaming to the top of her lungs. And she come running back in the visiting room. And when she come running back in the visiting room, I get up and I met her in the middle, and I pick her up, I hold her, and I'm looking at my sister because my daughter's just crying. I never heard her cry like this. She's crying to the top of her lungs that, you know, she wants me and she's hurting. And I look at my sister and I tell her, come back. Everybody in the visiting room kind of just froze for a second. And the officer tell, you know, my sister she could come back in. And as she pulled my daughter from me and she's grabbing on my clothes, I look at her eyes and I see the pain in her eyes and I hear the screams. And that hit me right then and there. And I went back and, you know, I'm around all the guys. So I try to hold this masculinity, but everybody in the visiting room felt it because it went silent after that. And I sat there, I went back to my cell. I started crying. I was just crying. And then I got extremely mad. I got really, really mad because I wanted to hurt the person that had hurt my daughter. And that pissed me off. And when I thought about it and I was like, who is it? How am I gonna get it? I looked in the mirror. It was me. I was the one that had hurt my daughter by being in there. And I looked at that pain and I was like, I never want to hurt anybody else again. And that would start my turning point. Because I hurt her by doing this, that turned to now the victim inside the place. How did I hurt her? And I hurt my mom and the people. So that would start to change. That's not the person I wanted to be. When I looked in her eyes and brought her that pain, I didn't want to bring anyone else any other pain. And that's what started my change.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I am happily crying myself and keeping my heart soft, which is so important for all of us. And I applaud you. I'm so grateful that you had that experience so that you could turn that corner. So I love that. I love that. Thank you. And thank you for being vulnerable to share that with me and my listening and watching audience. All right. So now you've stopped pointing that way and you're looking at the three fingers pointing at you. And then what did you do?
I had to figure out, I had to figure out how and where to go. And I still was a little bit in that rebellion stage because I'm having the help there, but I'm like, nah, it has to be another way. It has to be another way. And I'm like, I'm humbling myself more and more. And the main thing that hit me was my grandmother. And when my grandmother hit me and I thought about her, I was like, okay, I have to turn to God. And I had to humble myself. And I had to really listen and be that guy. So I had to really humble myself at that point in time. And it wasn't just learning from that right then and there, because I thought that was it. I thought, okay, I started learning from this. I started changing right here and I started doing everything from this point forward. And it wasn't that easy. I had to go all the way back from childhood and start all back over and forgive other people, forgive myself, and relearn new things in life that were right.
Powerful, powerful. So I just did a show on forgiveness. I love forgiveness. It's one of the best gifts that I gave myself because I could not, I don't have to live with that bitterness and resentment and all that poisonous feeling. you had mentioned a couple things you had healed from, and I don't want to pass over them lightly. But whatever you're comfortable with. Healing is a process. I still go through healing. I see it not as a straight line, but it's like this circular thing, just a little bit of an angle up every time. But give me, because this is another BS belief system that I want to address right on the head.
Okay.
So, give me a sense of the pain that you had to heal in forgiveness from.
Some of the pain that I had to heal and forgiveness from was the fact of growing up without a male figure, that my dad, being angry at him, and felt like that I just had to, he was a person that was angry at me, and whatever I did, it was his fault. And I had to forgive that trauma, because that shapes me as self-confidence, and that instilled that low self-esteem. So in order to forgive myself, I had to actually get that back. And I forgave him and everything they did. I forgave. That was one of the traumas that I had to go through. During school, there was a lot of bullying that was there that kind of shaped my thoughts towards people. I had to go back and forgive individuals that way. There was some adults in my life that I felt didn't make good decisions that was surrounding me. I went back and I forgave them, because I realized that we make decisions based on how we raised and our views too. So it's no one's fault at it. It's just having that compassion and understanding of why it actually happened. So I actually had to go back, and I had to put it in categories, because some of them I couldn't forgive. Some of the things I had to learn to live and manage as I go along, because they shaped me in the character of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
There was forgiveness of other people. There was forgiveness of myself. And there was to learn to live with some of the things that happened in life.
So, okay. So that was your process in healing. You had mentioned when we spoke, there was some sexual abuse that you were healing from, as well as abandonment, and all of those. And the reason why this is so important to bring up is that hurt people.
Yeah.
And I think there's this misunderstanding and absolute intolerance of error that we all go through, that brings us to be so condemning of people who make mistakes. Now, yours was a pretty big mistake, okay? And people don't understand. I think the statistics is in the upper 80s, the percent of people who are currently incarcerated, the level of abuse that they have themselves felt that was extremely led to the crime they committed and their incarceration. It's like, why do we think as people that when you make a stupid mistake, that somehow you will never live past that mistake? And this is the if you haven't watched 13th, it's a great Netflix documentary on the way that our prison system just continues to perpetrate the crime against the person. Because if you think about it, you do the time and then you get out and then you can't get a job. You still have this, mark. And so no wonder there is such a high percentage of recidivity, or I cannot say that word, but that's, one of the reasons there's no openness in our society, very little openness in our society to see people who come out of the prison system as changed, as healed, as different. So again, I wanted that a stake in the ground. If you hear anyone who has that BS belief system, call them on it. That's not true. You can show. I've had what is that bakery that hires people out of prison? I knew I was going to forget. I had them on my show, but my past guest Clive Terry has Leadership Academy that emerging leaders who I want you to meet, who also takes people from the prison system once they're out to give them skills and to work on that awareness inside that you already have. Right. But it's so important for us to stop the BS, the belief system that people are thrown away just because they've done a crime. And please, 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 the only way that's going to change is if we begin to address those people and the rhetoric or the posting that is saying that, right. And just, what you permit, you promote. And unless we all get to a comfortable place to say, no, that's not true. Look at Frank. Dr. Marissa just brought Frank on to get his true story. And and we're going to get into the part now where your bullheadedness came and was a positive thing in the prison system because you started doing things that are not on the news. All you hear in the news is, there's drugs in the prison system. People are, there's crime within the crime. There's people beating up people. And I'm not saying that there isn't that, but right. There's also some really cool things that are happening in the prison system now. So take it away, Frank. We're in the second half of the show. We want to focus on solution.
Okay, so I'm doing my time. I got, at this time, 16 years in, and 16 years in, I'm working on 3 AA degrees. I've completed a number of classes, and I'm continuously focusing on myself and ways of giving back. I arrive at RJ Donovan facility, and I'm there, and I'm continuing within this program because I believe that getting the help is really good. And however, the way that I look versus the way maybe someone else looked that suffered more mental illness was treated differently. And as I mentioned earlier, bullying was one of the issues of the things that I had to live with growing up, coming out of school. So I see that mental illness and how they was treated by others as a sense of bullying to me. Not saying that they are bullying, just to me, it was a sense of bullying. So I wanted to reach out to those individuals that suffer from mental illness and see how to help them more. And I went to the captain. I wanted to create a program. I kind of just let it come to me because after that 5 and 6 years, when I just was patient and allowed the spirit to come to me, I became a very spiritual man. I said I wanted to do something, and it kept tugging at my heart. And as it grew, more and more little things kept coming out. And it was like, create this program. The name is called Humanity is Every One Person, because everybody is the same, and have it based off of compassion and understanding. And that's exactly what we did. And so I went and talked to the captain. I told him about an idea I had. I wanted to share this idea and create this program. And he agreed. He thought it was a good idea. He gave us the things that we needed. We started up in Facility E, Building 23. We got together with the mental health staff there, and we actually started helping those that suffer from mental illness. As we doing this, a group of guys, as myself, I actually seen other guys in there that was equal-minded as myself, that was doing positive, going to school, that was actually had that heart of helping someone else. And God pointed me to these individuals, and I said, hey, do you guys want to get together? If we all get together and form a group together, we all can help the masses in one. They agreed. We have formed this group. The guys, it was a screening process, because you have to have integrity when you're dealing with other individuals. So the other individual I was dealing with was mental health individuals that suffer from mental illness. So there's a trust barrier there. So we had to gain their trust. and actually working with them. And we gained their trust in working with them. Everybody that's a member held up the integrity, we held up the CDCR rules. We created our own rules. We created our own rules outside of the prison rules that inmates hold. So we held our own integrity of how we will move forward in doing this. We later had a guy named David Armstrong join us. David had a really good story because he taught himself how to paint. And he had been down at this time about 26 years. And his painting was his healing at this time.
I'm putting that painting up. Can you see it?
Yes, I do.
It is stunning. I mean, it's hard to see exactly how stunning it is, but this is a world-class looking painting that he taught himself, yes. Right? While he's incarcerated, how to paint.
Exactly. He's taught himself how to paint, and he's very creative. He's very talented, and he had become very instrumental within Humanity is Every One Person. And now this is just a group that we have called ourselves, and we came up with the logo.
Okay, I'm going to flip it back out here, Frank, because I think it's beautiful. It's HEOP, and you are on Instagram. Humanity is Every One Person. I love the first word here is hope on the left. You've got integrity, you've mentioned mentoring, love, healing, faith, understanding, labor of love, honesty, sensitivity, kindness. And this is what came out of incarceration inside the prison system. So again, please allow me to make a public service announcement that those of you who have a BS, the belief system, fed by the mainstream media. I am not mainstream media. I hope never to be. If it bleeds, it leads. That level of media only talks about the worst in mankind. No kind in that. Here we have Frank, who is a perfect example of what good can come in prison and out of prison, which is why he's on my show. Yeah. So HEOP, if you want an organization to support, instead of shaking your head at how the world is going to hell in a handbasket because you just watched the news, here's another organization. I spotlight them as often as I can. I usually put them on Mondays when I do happiness coaching so that you have a chance. If you're not feeling good about yourself and you want to do something that makes yourself feel better, this is an organization that you could get involved with. You can contact Frank. You can follow HEOP on Instagram, Frank Vaughn. What's another way that they can contact you?
Also that they could contact me by email at frank@heopca.com. That's another way to contact me. Also, we have a Facebook page also.
Great. So contact Frank at, go ahead.
Contact Frank at HEOP. CA.
CA?
Yeah, CA.com.
Like California. Okay.
California.
.com.
Yes.
And .com or at Gmail. Is it
no,
.com?
Yes, .com.
Okay, perfect. Oh, so let's oops. I can actually pull that up. All right. So you have a mission, you have a vision. What now there's members that you have that are still there. You were just released. How long ago?
I was released about a year and a half ago. I was released. I'm actually coming up on 2 years, come August 4th. The guys that's still in there, what's amazing about them is that this is a volunteer service. And the members in the program that we created our own curriculum. We have our own rules that we created with this program. 8 members have got out, went to the board and got out through this program. The board have acknowledged this program. And so the members that's left, that's in there, they continue on with a good heart. And these are the members like Larry Parker, David Armstrong, guys that's been there since the beginning, that it started. These are the guys that's still strong, that actually people should be taking a look at. I support them 100%.
Now, give me a sense of what the crimes that they went through are. You don't have to name the names, but just give me an idea of their background and how they have done the same thing as you, which is turn the corner.
Some of the crimes range from they could be as high as murder to robbery to home invasion. Those are the crimes of everybody that came in there a program with. But we didn't judge them off their crime. We judged them off of their strength and their capability and the change that they came in on. We have compassion for everybody. The reason why I have compassion and understanding as a forefront within HEOP, understanding is in Proverbs more than 60 times. It's mentioned in Proverbs. And so understanding is a key to mental illness. Understanding is the key to humanity. It's us understanding each other. And that's what we have mastered in helping mental illness.
That's a drop the mic thing right there. So understanding, right, is the key to I think putting kind back into humankind. Yeah. Because there's the desire to understand. It's, people ask me all the time, what's the one reason why we have such a problem valuing diversity and valuing people who are not like us? And it's because whenever we see something different, it is met with revulsion, condemnation, judgment. Ew, you pass the smell in the lunchroom from the microwave and you've not smelled it before. It's this instead of, I wonder what that is, which is curiosity. Right? The desire to understand, not asking people to go, oh, yes, I love crime. Yes, I want people to have crime so they can no, but there is that effort to say, which I am going to give myself credit for. I did not walk past you after you said, I just got out of prison for a 20-year sentence. I stopped and I listened and I wanted to understand. So I get a little pat on my back for that. And I think that's so important for all of us to just I'll never understand what you went through. I'll never understand why you did that. Like, what's wrong with you on that first part? But it was a necessary part of your strength now. I mean, I love what you're doing. I think that this is a great example that even from something bad, something good can happen. My BS belief system is that everything bad that happens in life is because it's alchemizing us into expand into more greatness. Everything. And certainly, would you do it again? I don't know. But it doesn't matter if you would do it. That's like not the question to ask. I wonder what good can come out of this is the question I ask myself anytime shiitake happens. So certainly for you, what happened that was good is creating HEOP. By the way, I looked it up. I can't pull it up because it's saying website not found. So it's HEOPCA.com.
Right. We just, it's HEOPCA.com, but we just changed it. We're working on the.
Okay. So don't go to the website. Go message him on social media.
Yeah, message me. And social media. That should be up probably by the end of the week.
Perfect.
Definitely by the end of the week. I just want to say that one of the things that HEOP does is bridge the gap between mental illness and non-mental illness. And we put on events at Donovan for this purpose on Facility E. A few years ago, we did a restorative justice fair where we brought more than 50 victims and people from the community of San Diego inside the prison for healing and allow those guys inside prison to get healing also. And we have another event coming up inside Donovan, that everything that we do contributes to healing and contributes to understanding and compassion of what we do. And I know we had mentioned Dave, the artist, of his painting. If I can, real quick, to just give an example. I don't know if you can see this real clear, but this is the paintings that is in the office. This is a mirror image of the offices inside incarceration, where you're sitting down, you get your healing. So all the paintings that we have come from healing. And we got these paintings, Dave, we put them up, we put them in the offices. The guys go in there, they get healed. They get understanding, they have something beautiful to look at. We then take those and we do it all over again for the next year. And those are the paintings that we actually want to spread to get healing with.
Wow, beautiful. And he taught himself how to do painting, and people are actually buying his paintings. I understand that they're being shown in galleries, which is amazing. And I absolutely, again, if you want to stop just shaking your head at the prison system or people that do the crime and think that it's, just something to throw away, here is a great example. Frank Vaughn, I want to give you something that I don't normally give to all of my guests, but it's called Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award. So I don't know if you've gotten awards. This is an award that is real because I want to recognize people who take areas of temporary darkness and shine a light into them, and that your life is of benefit on the planet.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's
Good.
really good.
I'm glad you do. It's been a delightful time. Thank you for having the courage to come on to talk about things that people don't normally want to talk about. And certainly, I'm glad that you're not saying the past is past and I don't want to talk about it, because I think that it's an important thing that you talk about it, looking at it in a little different way, but truly wanting to take your experiences to be a beneficial presence on the planet.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
And also.
Absolutely. When's the event? And I would like an invitation to that event, by the way. I'm a little, I've got like tingles. I don't think have I been in the prison system? I have not been. So we can do a Dr. Marissa reporting live in the prison system. But when is that event?
It's actually scheduled for September. Being that September is Suicide Prevention Month, so it's actually scheduled for September.
Okay, as long as it's before the 21st, I will be there.
You'll be there. All right. You
Canada.
definitely get an invitation.
All right, wonderful. We're out of time. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from my living room with Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. Tomorrow we have Soraya Parker. She is the author of Lost Soul. So keep it tuned here. Thank you again, Frank. This is what I do at the end of every show. It's all about balance. Peace
all
in.
about balance. Peace.
Peace in, peace out.
Peace in, peace out.
World peace.
World peace.
Through inner peace.
Through inner peace.
Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right.